The Times of Israel reported on June 5th that Israel provided members of an armed group in Gaza with Kalashnikov rifles to protect themselves against Hamas as part of an effort to strengthen opposition groups in the Strip. The group, which is sometimes described as a militia and sometimes as a criminal gang, is led by Yasser Abu Shabab, a member of a large clan in southern Gaza. Defense sources said the weapons that Israel provided to Abu Shabab's gang included some that Israel seized from Hamas during the war. The militia is operating in Rafah, in an area that is under Israeli military control. Netanyahu. In recent days, footage published online, including by clan leader Yasser Abu Shabab, has shown members of the gang wearing military-style uniforms with the Palestinian flag and the words counter-terrorism mechanism emblazoned on them.
So a week ago, we've been giving directly with an American company, but doesn't matter. It's Israel doing it, basically, giving out food for every family. It's not people selling it to them. We're giving them a family a week a supply of three meals a day for 5 days or 6 days, every box. And they have food. They will not starve. And it's okay. But the more important part of it is the Hamas respond to what Israel is doing. Hamas on a daily basis is trying to argue that there have been kills there and Israel is striking them and killing them. And it's all false. They're under a lot of pressure now, Hamas, because the split between the population and the Hamas regime is happening. We gave out in the past week over 1 million meals. That's, let's say, half of the Gaza population took food directly from Israel. That's dramatic.
And I think it's important to say that the international media has been either advertently or inadvertently, either purposely or inadvertently, aiding Hamas by continuing this constant narrative that there's a famine, that people are to starvation. 48 hours, the head of the UN said this until he retracted his words. You're going to have tens of thousands or millions of babies dying. This is essentially Hamas's strategy saying, don't trust the Israel plan. It has to come via the international organizations because they know they can manipulate them.
I think the international world, mostly the left, let's say the UN and the organizations, are terrified that Israel will win this war decisively because it proves that it's possible. It's possible to win a war against a jihadist Hamas. It's possible to do it without having a massacre or anything that hurts dramatically the population. We can separate a jihadist regime, and what will happen the day after, we need to find a solution. That's starting now with the small militia that is guarding practically these distribution points for food for the population. It's a good beginning.
I want you to unpack that. Hold on. You threw out something I think that for many of our listeners, and even for me until recently, is a game changer. Israeli troops are not directly hand-to-hand with the Gazans, correct?
No.
So who is, when you say a militia, explain who is now securing these?
So since the beginning of the war, Israel tried to reach out to local, let's say, criminal groups.
Gangs?
Some kind of gangs, but they're local families, local tribes who were in relationship with Hamas. You think about the Gaza population as a tribal population. So every tribe has its neighborhood, its camp, whatever it is. And it's a very traditional population. So a lot of them are like gangsters that have a lot of small army and things like that. We tried to connect them. And eventually when we weakened Hamas and they understood that Hamas is not going to survive this war, they're willing to take a risk. It's the Abu Shabab gang under the Tarabin tribe. It doesn't matter, it's Bedouins.
Tarabin is the largest tribe, I think.
Yes, one of the biggest tribes in the area.
Of
Bedouins in the Sinai Peninsula, most of it, and parts of it are in the Gaza Strip. But it's less important who they are. Yes, they are jihadists. Yes, they're Muslims. But they're willing to work with Israel. That's a good beginning. Is that a very good solution? I don't think Socrates will run Gaza tomorrow morning. But I think in the situation today, in the crazy neighborhood we live in, it's the least worst solution we have today. I don't think we will promise them to run Gaza day after. I don't think we should. But in the meantime, it's a very good solution to, first of all, topple down the Hamas regime.
Well, why would they take this risk? I mean, if Israel, under international pressure for any other reason, God forbid, does not defeat Hamas, the first thing Hamas is going to do is to come back and have retribution against them. So they're taking a risk. Why are they taking this
because risk? They assess that Israel will destroy Hamas. That's exactly why part of the analysis why I think Israel is going to win this war is because the people in Gaza think that Israel is going to win the war.
They want to be on the side of the victor.
Again, incentives matter. They're looking to the day after. They care for their own life. They were unwilling to do it till a month or 2 months ago. Because the shift in Israeli strategy that is very clear now, that we're continuing slowly. Now, we're barely losing soldiers. Every soldier is important. But an operation with 5 divisions now fighting in Gaza on a very, very strict strategy. First of all, we clear the area against would-be traps, and then we move forward and we destroy everything and we stay there. We do not withdraw to let Hamas go back. And it's working. It's working beautifully. And Hamas is terrified. So we're feeding the population. We're actually enabling an alternative, some kind of local tribe to run some kind of local area. We're moving forward. We're not losing soldiers. Time is in our side in the meantime. So Hamas is pressurized. We're unwilling to negotiate for the end of the war. So Hamas, let's put it like this, Israel is basically willing to take the risk for the 20 living hostages today to end the war.
I want to push back for 1 second. Judith Weinstein and Gadi Chagai, whose bodies were just rescued from Khan Yunis and were murdered in near Oz. They were murdered not by Hamas. They were taken by the Muad'Din, which is, correct me if I'm wrong, they're also a militia. What is the difference between that militia and that militia? I mean, these militias are some of the worst criminal acts were carried out by what Israel often calls the 3,000 citizens that followed Hamas into Gaza. Many of them were these clan members. I mean, who are we dealing with here?
I'll compare it to Giuliani in Syria now. Giuliani is now invited to the UN to speak. France invited him. He's a mass murderer. I don't like him anyway. He should be isolated from the Western world, but he's the least worst dictator now in the Middle East because he's willing to work with the West. Now, do I think he's good? No, I'm willing to work with him. I'm a realist. The difference, we call it 50 Shades of Black. They're all horrible people. I will never be their friend, but they're willing to help me in the meantime. So in a utilitarian strategy that is very realistic, I prefer now to work with these awful people just to take down Hamas. They're awful people. I don't want them. I don't want to stay the day after. Maybe Israel is incentivizing them by giving them safe haven the day after, giving them money. I don't care. Israel will need to control the Gaza Strip in some ways the day after, maybe by incentivizing the Gazans to go out in the Trump plan to Indonesia or African sub-Saharan countries. I don't know what the solution on the day after will be, but the first step is the Hamas regime leaving the area and surrendering. That's the most important part. That needs to happen in the next 60 days. That's I think, the timeline.
The Times of Israel reported on June 5th that Israel provided members of an armed group in Gaza with Kalashnikov rifles to protect themselves against Hamas as part of an effort to strengthen opposition groups in the Strip. The group, which is sometimes described as a militia and sometimes as a criminal gang, is led by Yasser Abu Shabab, a member of a large clan in southern Gaza. Defense sources said the weapons that Israel provided to Abu Shabab's gang included some that Israel seized from Hamas during the war. The militia is operating in Rafah, in an area that is under Israeli military control. It was led by Israeli security. In recent days, footage published online, including by clan leader Yasser Abu Shabab, has shown members of the gang wearing military-style uniforms with the Palestinian flag and the words counter-terrorism mechanism emblazoned on them.